A philosopher once said that we're just stories in the end, that maybe we should focus on making them good ones. But there is a harder truth beneath that comfort, one that haunts us in moments of clarity late at night. You will die, and eventually, every trace of you will vanish from the collective memory of humanity. Not just you, but everyone you know, everyone you've ever heard of, every name that echoes through history today. In the vast sweep of time, we are all destined for the same absolute erasure, the same complete oblivion. This isn't pessimism, it's simply what awaits us all at the end of every road we travel. Think about the pharaohs of Egypt, rulers who commanded the labor of thousands to carve their names into stone. They built pyramids reaching toward heaven, monuments designed explicitly to defeat death and time itself. Yet today, how many can you name beyond a handful pulled from distant memory or museum visits? Ramses the Great once stood as a god among mortals, his statues towering across an empire. Now, his shattered face lies in a museum, surrounded by tourists taking photos before rushing to the next exhibit. Shelley captured this perfectly when he wrote about Ozymandias, that broken colossus in endless desert sands. The inscription still reads with bitter irony, "Look on my works, ye mighty," and despair. But nothing remains around that pedestal except emptiness, the lone and level sands stretching infinitely away. All that pride, all that power, all those grand achievements reduced to fragments and forgotten names. If the mightiest kings couldn't escape oblivion despite their monuments, what chance do any of us have? We live in an age where nearly everyone leaves a digital footprint, photos and posts scattered across servers. We might think this solves the problem, that we've finally found a way to be remembered forever. But being documented isn't the same as being remembered, and storage isn't the same as meaning. Future historians may have more data about our era than any before, yet who will care about your individual story? 100 years from now, maybe your great-grandchildren will find your social media profile archived somewhere. They'll scroll through photos of someone they never met, trying to connect with a stranger who shares their blood. But will they understand who you really were? What kept you awake at night? What made you laugh? Or will you just be another name in a genealogy chart, another face in an old photograph? By the time your great-great-grandchildren arrive, if they arrive, you'll likely be completely unknown to them. Not out of cruelty or disrespect, but simply because that's how memory works across generations. We typically can't name our ancestors beyond our great-grandparents, maybe great-great if we're lucky. Everyone else fades into the background noise of history, their entire existence compressed into empty branches on family trees. There's a saying that captures this perfectly: you die twice in this world. Once when your heart stops beating, and again when your name is spoken for the last time. That second death usually comes within 50 to 100 years, sometimes sooner, occasionally later. But it comes for everyone eventually, a final erasure, more absolute than the first. Even the famous aren't immune, they just delay the inevitable a bit longer than the rest of us. Consider how many ancient heroes and philosophers we've completely lost, names that once commanded reverence. For every Socrates we remember, there were dozens of equally brilliant thinkers whose works burned with the Library of Alexandria. For every Julius Caesar, there were countless generals whose victories are now footnotes scholars debate. The Greeks and Romans worshipped their heroes, told stories around fires, carved their deeds into marble. Yet most of those names are dust now, and the few that remain are often simplified into cartoon versions. We know Shakespeare wrote plays, but do we know him as a person, his fears, his daily struggles? We've turned him into an icon, a symbol, but the actual human being who lived and breathed is lost. Even Jesus Christ, perhaps the most influential figure in Western civilization, has become more myth than man. We have no verified portraits, no writings in his own hand, no way to know what his actual voice sounded like. What remains is interpretation, layered upon interpretation, translation upon translation, until the original person becomes unknowable. This happens to everyone given enough time, even those who shaped the world. So what happens to the billions who don't shape the world, who live ordinary lives? Most people throughout history have left no record at all beyond perhaps a name in some parish register. They were born, they lived, they loved, they struggled, they died, and then silence. No biography, no monument, no plaque, no footnote in any history book anywhere. Their entire existence compressed into absolute nothing, as if they never walked this earth at all. You might find this terrifying, this inevitable march toward total erasure from collective memory. The existentialists certainly did. They built entire philosophies around this fundamental absurdity of human existence. Camus looked at the certainty of death and the inevitability of being forgotten and called it absurd. We create meaning. We build monuments, we strive for significance, and death contextualizes all of it as ultimately pointless. Everything we accomplish, every value we rationalize, every relationship we cherish, all of it ends in the same void. He compared life to Sisyphus, eternally pushing his boulder up a mountain, only to watch it roll back down. The task is endless, futile, meaningless. And yet Camus insisted we must imagine Sisyphus happy. We must create our own meaning precisely because there isn't any inherent meaning provided for us. We must live fully and defiantly, despite knowing that death will erase us completely. Heidegger approached it differently, arguing that only by acknowledging our mortality can we live authentically. He called it being toward death. This constant awareness that our time is limited and our legacy uncertain. Most people avoid thinking about death, distracting themselves with trivialities and social conformity. But if we face death squarely, accept its certainty, we free ourselves from anxiety and superficial concerns. We stop worrying about what others think, stop chasing meaningless accolades, and focus on what truly matters. The Stoics understood this thousands of years before modern existentialism even existed. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote extensively about mortality in his private meditations. He reminded himself constantly that fame is fleeting, that even the longest-lasting reputation eventually crumbles. Those who remember you will themselves die soon, and those who remember them will also die. It's an unbroken chain leading inevitably to complete forgetting, no matter how important you seem today. Aurelius found this liberating rather than depressing. It freed him from the trap of seeking posthumous glory. He could focus instead on living virtuously in the present, doing what was right simply because it was right. Not for applause, not for history's judgment, but because virtue itself was the only thing truly within his control. When we die, we experience nothing, including whether anyone remembers us or speaks our name. So why waste energy worrying about something that won't matter to us once we're gone? The wise do not grieve over what is inevitable. They accept the nature of the world and find peace. But acceptance doesn't come easily to most of us. We're wired to fear death and crave significance. Terror management theory suggests that much of human behavior is driven by unconscious death anxiety. We know we're going to die. We know we'll be forgotten, and this knowledge creates existential terror. To manage this fear, we cling to cultural worldviews, belief systems, anything that gives us a sense of permanence. We identify with nations, religions, movements, anything larger than ourselves that might outlast our individual death. We have children partly because they carry our genes forward, giving us a biological form of continuity. We create art, write books, build companies, all attempting to achieve some kind of symbolic immortality. Every monument ever built, every name carved into stone, every autobiography ever written stems from this fear. We're terrified of living an insignificant life destined to be erased, so we scramble to make our mark. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Almost none of it works, not in the long run. Yes, having children extends your influence for a generation or two. But even genetic relatedness dilutes rapidly. After 10 generations, your DNA contribution to any given descendant is negligible, effectively zero. Yes, some artists and thinkers achieve lasting fame, but they represent a microscopic fraction of humanity, and even their fame is contingent, dependent on continued cultural interest that can shift or vanish. Libraries burn, civilizations fall, languages die, and with them go the names they once held sacred. The Hittites were a major Bronze Age power, yet they were completely forgotten until archaeologists rediscovered them. For thousands of years, it was as if they'd never existed at all, their entire civilization lost to time. If that can happen to an empire, what chance does a single individual have? Literature has wrestled with this theme across every culture and century, finding no easy answers. Shakespeare had Macbeth declare that life is but a walking shadow, a brief candle that flickers out. We strut and fret our hour upon the stage, and then we're heard no more, vanished into silence. It's a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing in the end. The Bible's Ecclesiastes echoes this bleakness. No one remembers the former generations. Even those yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow after them. Everything is vanity. Everything is meaningless under the sun, because death makes equals of us all. In Blade Runner, the replicant Roy Batty faces his death knowing his memories will vanish completely. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain, he says, capturing the tragedy perfectly. Every experience, every sight, every feeling we've ever had dies with our brain, irretrievably gone. The animated film Coco built its entire plot around this concept of being forgotten. In its universe, the dead continue to exist as long as someone living remembers them. But when the last person who knew you dies, you suffer the final death, disappearing even from the afterlife. Eventually, everyone fades, even the most beloved ancestors, when memory finally fails completely. It's a gentler version of the truth. We do live on briefly in the hearts of those who loved us. But those hearts themselves will stop, and the memories they held will vanish with them. Science offers no comfort here, only cold confirmation of what we already suspect. When your brain dies, your memories die with you, all those neural patterns dissolving into nothing. There's no evidence of consciousness persisting without the physical structure that generates it. You are your brain, and when it stops functioning, you simply cease to exist completely. The memory of you in other people's brains follows predictable patterns of decay and distortion. Psychologists describe the forgetting curve, how memories weaken over time unless continuously reinforced. Even those who knew you best will find their memories of you drifting, becoming less accurate. Eventually, those who hold your memory will die too, and with them goes the last genuine trace of who you were. From a cosmic perspective, our insignificance becomes almost overwhelming to contemplate. Carl Sagan reflected on the pale blue dot photograph, showing Earth as a tiny speck in the vastness of space. Everything humans have ever known or done happened on that mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. All our triumphs and tragedies, all our civilizations and conquests, all confined to this invisible point. The universe is roughly 13.8 billion years old, unimaginably vast in both space and time. If universal history were compressed into a single year, all of human civilization would occupy the last few seconds. We are infinitesimally small, laughably brief, and the universe will continue long after we're gone. Eventually, the sun will expand and consume Earth, erasing even the physical location where we existed. Even if humanity somehow survives and spreads to the stars, entropy ensures nothing lasts forever. In the theoretical heat death of the universe trillions of years from now, all organized information dissolves. Stars burn out, black holes evaporate, atoms decay, and with them goes every last trace of anything that ever was. On that timescale, expecting your name or works to persist forever is beyond absurd. The second law of thermodynamics guarantees that order always gives way to disorder eventually. Without constant energy expenditure to maintain them, memories and monuments alike crumble into chaos. Libraries decay, digital files corrupt, languages evolve beyond recognition or disappear entirely. Stonehenge still stands after thousands of years, but we've lost the names of those who built it. We don't even know exactly why they built it, what rituals they performed there, what their lives were like. An entire culture's knowledge and identity has been reduced to mysterious rocks in a field. That's the fate awaiting all of us, all our works, all our civilizations, given enough time. Some find solace in religion, in the promise that God remembers even when humans forget. Christianity teaches that the soul continues after death, that there's an eternal life beyond this temporary one. Islam similarly promises an afterlife, where our deeds are weighed and our essence preserved. Judaism emphasizes living on through children and community, becoming a blessing in others' memory. Buddhism and Hinduism offer reincarnation, suggesting that what we call death is just a transition. But even these faiths acknowledge that worldly fame means nothing, that earthly remembrance is fleeting. What matters is the spiritual realm, whether your soul finds peace or enlightenment or union with the divine. In that framework, being forgotten by humanity isn't tragic because you exist elsewhere, in another form. But if you don't believe in an afterlife, if you think death is simply the end, then forgetting becomes final. There's a certain democracy to oblivion. It comes for everyone, regardless of wealth or status. Alexander the Great conquered most of the known world, yet his empire crumbled within decades of his death. Napoleon reshaped Europe, but visit his tomb today, and it's just another tourist attraction. Einstein revolutionized physics, but how many people can actually explain his theories versus just recognizing his name? Even the most influential figures become simplified, reduced to symbols rather than complex human beings. And that's for the exceptional few, the ones who manage to cling to collective memory longer than most. For the billions of ordinary people, forgetting comes much faster, often within a single generation. Your great-grandchildren, if they exist, will know almost nothing about who you actually were. They might have a photograph, maybe a story or two passed down and distorted through retellings. But the texture of your life, your personality, your dreams and fears, all of that will be completely lost. You'll be reduced to a name on a family tree, a date of birth and death, nothing more. Is this tragic? Is it cause for despair? Or is it simply the natural order of things? Perhaps the fear of being forgotten says more about our egos than about the nature of reality. We want to believe we're special, that our individual existence matters in some cosmic sense. But the universe doesn't care about individuals. It operates on scales where entire galaxies are insignificant. We're pattern-seeking creatures, trying to impose meaning on a fundamentally indifferent cosmos. There's a freedom in accepting this, in letting go of the need to be remembered forever. If nobody will remember you anyway, then you're free to live for yourself, for the people you love, for the present moment. You don't have to chase fame or build monuments or worry constantly about your legacy. You can focus instead on the experience of being alive, which is remarkable enough on its own. Every moment you're conscious is a kind of miracle, the universe briefly becoming aware of itself. You get to see sunsets, taste chocolate, feel the warmth of someone you love, hear music that moves you. These experiences have value in themselves, independent of whether anyone remembers they happened. A tree falling in the forest still falls whether anyone hears it or not. Your life has meaning in the living of it, not in whether it's remembered afterward. Maybe the problem isn't that we'll be forgotten, but that we're so obsessed with avoiding it. We waste the precious time we have worrying about the imaginary future people who won't know we existed. Instead of being present, we're constantly performing, curating our lives for an audience that will never come. Social media has intensified this, creating an illusion that we're building lasting digital monuments. But server farms will eventually fail. Companies will go bankrupt. File formats will become obsolete. Your carefully crafted online persona will vanish, just as surely as ancient papyrus scrolls crumbled to dust. Nothing we create is permanent. Nothing we build will last forever, and that includes our memories. The Stoics were right. The only thing we truly control is how we live right now, in this present moment. We can choose to act with integrity, treat others with kindness, pursue what genuinely matters to us. Not because it will be remembered, but because it's the right way to live while we're here. Marcus Aurelius understood that it's not death we should fear, but never beginning to truly live. Most people sleepwalk through life, distracted by trivial concerns, never fully present or authentic. They waste their brief time here, chasing things that don't matter, status, possessions, others' opinions. And then suddenly, they're at the end, realizing they never actually lived at all, just survived. The awareness of death, properly understood, should wake us up rather than paralyze us with fear. Every day you wake up is a gift you didn't earn and won't receive forever. Every person you love could vanish tomorrow. Every experience could be your last. This shouldn't make you anxious. It should make you present, grateful, alive. If you knew you'd be forgotten in 100 years, would you live differently right now? Would you worry less about impressing strangers? Would you spend more time with people you love? Would you take that trip, write that book, have that conversation you keep postponing? The certainty of being forgotten should liberate you, not imprison you in existential dread. You're going to die anyway. Everyone you know is going to die. Everyone who might judge you is going to die. So you might as well do what feels meaningful to you, whatever that happens to be. Create art that nobody sees. Help people who will never thank you. Love without expecting anything in return. Let your actions be their own reward, sufficient in themselves without requiring external validation or memory. This is what the Buddhists mean when they talk about non-attachment, about letting go of ego and desire. Clinging to the hope of being remembered is just another form of suffering, another trap for the mind. When you realize that everything is impermanent, including yourself, you can finally relax into the present. You can appreciate each moment for what it is, without constantly measuring it against some imagined future. There's a Japanese aesthetic concept called wabi-sabi, finding beauty in impermanence and imperfection. Cherry blossoms are treasured precisely because they bloom brilliantly and then fall quickly, their beauty intensified by transience. If they lasted forever, they wouldn't be special. It's their fleeting nature that makes them precious. Perhaps we should think of human lives the same way. Beautiful because they're temporary, meaningful because they end. A snowflake is no less intricate or remarkable because it melts. A sunset is no less stunning because night follows. Your life has value while you're living it, and that value doesn't require permanence to be real. The universe has existed for billions of years and will continue for billions more. In that vast span, your life is a single heartbeat, a flash of lightning, a wave crashing on a shore. But while that wave crests, while that lightning illuminates the sky, it is undeniably real. You're happening right now, and that is enough. That has to be enough, because it's all there is. One day, the last person who remembers you will think of you for the final time, and then never again. That thought might float across their mind randomly while they're doing something mundane like washing dishes. They'll barely notice it happening, this final erasure of your existence from human consciousness. And then you'll be truly gone, as if you never existed at all, joining the trillions who came before. But here's what matters. Right now, in this moment, you are still here. You still have time to live authentically, to love deeply, to create meaning, even in a meaningless universe. You still have the chance to be present for your own life, instead of worrying about some non-existent future. The fact that it ends, that it will be forgotten, doesn't make it less real or less valuable. If anything, it makes every moment more precious, because each one is unrepeatable and finite. So live as if nobody will remember you, because nobody will, and let that truth set you free. Stop performing for posterity and start experiencing your actual life as it unfolds right now. Be kind, not because you'll be remembered as kind, but because kindness is its own reward. Create not to leave a legacy, but because creation is a fundamental expression of being alive. Love not to be remembered by those you love, but because love is the only thing that makes life worth living. In the end, we're all just temporary patterns of matter and energy, briefly organized into consciousness. We arise from the universe, exist for a moment, and then dissolve back into the universe that made us. From stardust we came, to stardust we return, and in between we get to be aware, to experience, to feel. That's the real miracle. Not that we might be remembered, but that we exist at all against such tremendous odds. The universe could have been lifeless, dead matter floating through empty space forever. Instead, at least here on this tiny planet, matter became aware of itself through us. We are the universe experiencing itself, understanding itself, creating meaning for itself. And when we die, we don't disappear from the universe, we just rejoin it in a different form. Our atoms will become part of other things, trees and soil, and eventually new stars. The energy that animated us will transform and flow into new patterns, new lives. Nothing is truly lost, it just changes form, cycles endlessly through the cosmos. So perhaps being forgotten isn't death at all, it's just transformation, continuation without identity. You won't be remembered as yourself, but everything that made you will persist and recombine. In that sense, you'll be everywhere and nowhere, part of everything and nothing in particular. Your individual story ends, but the story continues. The universe goes on telling itself through new voices. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's even beautiful if we can accept it without grasping for more. Maybe the wisdom is found not in fighting oblivion, but in embracing it as the natural completion of life. We had our turn to be conscious, to witness this strange and wonderful universe. That turn ends, as all turns must, and then it becomes someone else's turn, forever and ever. The show goes on without us. The play continues with new actors taking the stage. Our verse has been spoken, our note has been played, and now the song moves forward. In the end, perhaps the greatest freedom is accepting that you'll be forgotten and choosing to live beautifully anyway.